In this talk, we are going to discuss microservice architecture with the patterns data consistency. In our previous events, we have discussed high-level agenda about microservice architecture. So in the previous events, we have discussed about software architecture patterns. We have seen there are multiple software architecture patterns available, monolithic and one of the architecture pattern, and another architecture pattern, the microservice. Microservice architecture pattern is one of them that is fulfill the uh, demands of current environments. So you can see there are a lot of requirement and of deployment and independent deployment and scalability. Microservice architecture, one of the very suitable architecture that is uh, suitable for cloud native applications, and it it is just one of the uh, application architecture that is provide high availability and scalability and testability. So on further events, we are going to discuss that microservice architecture pattern for data consistency. In these events, we will discuss how we can solve the challenges whatever raised by the microservice architectures. Microservice architecture, that's a distributed based applications. So you just deployed a lot of applications in a independently in a different servers, and they are using its own databases. So how that's actually one of the problem it's raised by the microservice architecture, that is distributed database management. So in this events, we will plan to discuss and we will see how we can handle this data consistency across the microservice in a modern software applications, right? So my voice is clear to all?
Yeah, pretty much clear. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's start. So before we start, it is a bit about me. So I think I have already discussed about that slides in my previous events. So I am software engineer and trainer and consultant, right? And one of the founder of DinishOnJava.com. And I have authored, there are several books you can see in my screen. So these are my events. These my Twitter handles and DinishRajput.com is a website. You can connect on that website, and email is there. You can write something feedback or query, whatever you have question you can ask here. So as a software engineer, I'm working with a product-based company that is based on the Noida, and I have experience on the backend and front-end technologies. So as a trainer, I'm providing multiple events on Spring Framework, Spring Boot, microservice architecture, and some parts like how we can create, how we can, whenever we want to, uh, whenever we want to decompose your application monolithic to microservice, you can take help from me. And author, I have worked with some of the publications, the PAC publications and BPV publications. So these are books available in our market. You can go through.
Which website, Dinesh, this book we can get?
Yeah, you can directly go to the publisher website. Either you can go with the Amazon, one of the very
Okay.
popular website. You can find the Amazon. All books is available on the Amazon.
And do they deliver out of India?
Yeah, they are delivered.
Okay, that's fine.
So Dinesh on Java, that's about technical articles and question and the code and examples is always there. You can find. So agenda of today. So it's I think very interested events going on. So for agenda of today is like native database transaction. So I think all are aware about the native database transactions, that a local transaction managed by the any database. I think you must aware about the asset properties of database. So these properties we will discuss here. So here distributed transaction, one of the it is little bit different from the local database transaction or native database transaction. So it is not dependent to the any technology. It is like distributed database transaction, some where microservice is adopt these patterns. And handling transactions in a monolithic application. So monolithic application, one of the like a single artifact. This contain all modules, any type of modules in a for a business, or for a whatever modules required for a business, that is every modules as a single artifact. So that is how we can uh, handle the transaction across the monolithic application. So we will see a microservice database patterns. Here we will see how we can configure your database with the microservice architecture, and which strategy should we adopt, which strategy should not we adopt, and we will discuss how we can configure. And some handling, then after that, handling transaction in microservices. So after discussing with the database patterns with the microservices architectures, so we will see how we can handle the database transaction across the microservices. So which pattern should be used, and which pattern is best for microservice architecture. And after that, we will see one of them sequence of this discussion, two-phase commit patterns. It is one of the patterns that is distributed, that is for distributed transaction management APIs. So two-phase commit is a very old way to handling the things that is required for transaction. And saga patterns, that is also very old, but nowadays it's a very new for discussing. And saga pattern actually 1987 is published by some papers, that is some like US based person that published these patterns. On that time these are not useful, so but right now it's like very demanding patterns to handle that, even handle the data consistency across the microservices based on the eventual consistency. We will discuss what is the eventual consistency in a slides. So event sourcing, then CQRS. That CQRS, that is actually one of the things how we can segregate your command and query from your application, how we can provide the best separation of concern to your application, like command query and like write query and read query. So we will see here. So let's move. So the native database transaction. So in the native database transaction, you first of all we will see what is the transaction actually. So transaction, I think you all guys must aware about the what is a transaction actually. So it's a very basic definition of transaction: a set of tasks which take place as a single individual unit of work, but each unit of work should be internally committed or rolled back to ensure data integrity. Actually, we have a unit of tasks. Suppose we can discuss an example: a person withdraw amount from account. So from withdraw a particular amount from on account, that is actually one of the tasks, that is a unit of task. So whatever step involved for this task is a unit of work. Is not, we can say, uh, performing like we are deducting the money from the account but not hand over to the customer. So that is not fulfill, that is not a transaction actually. We have to either either fully successful or fully failure to ensure the data integrity. So that is example, whatever I'm going to discuss across the our this talk. So let's imagine a customer that want to withdraw whatever I told you. So this is the amount, this is the withdraw methods. That's withdraw, for particular withdraw we have to know about the account number and then amount need to be what need to be faced, withdrawn. So please mute all. So this is actually whenever we are talking about our particular this example. So the basic requirement for this transaction, we need a banking service that is like online banking service. Anything else we can say is that we can suppose this is a our uh, our like example, we banking service we treat as a service, and behind this service we need account repository. The account repository, nothing is simple, like it's connecting to the database to fetch the account information. Then similar to the customer repository, that is actually responsible to fetch the data related to the customer. So for this amount, like we need, like suppose banking service actually generate a request to withdraw amount from account to particular account to customer. So here we just banking service raise a request to account repository to fetch the account information by find account by id, right? So it's passing like a string, so one of the account number or account holder name, something else, whatever we want to do. So similar, after finding the account information from account repository, we need to be find the customer information by passing the customer ID here. And then after getting the customer information, account information, now we need to be get the deduct amount from particular account. And after deducting that amount, we need to be update that particular amount to the database. We have debited this particular amount from your account. So this update account method is responsible to update the database, right? After updating the database, we need to be notified to the customer, and we need get approval from the customer. We are going to discuss, we are going to debit this particular amount from your account. So this is something notification we need to be sent to the customer, something like we can say something update to the customer, or something like validation, or we can check with the customer OTP, something like that. So these are four methods, as I assume, for particular unit of task. The unit of task is withdraw a amount from a account, right? So for that unit of task, you can see there are four database operation will be performed, like select, second number select, then third update, then update. So these are four database operations we need to be performed with the withdraw amount from the particular account, right? So now if withdraw amount perform this unit of work non-transactionally, then what happens? See in the next slide. So banking service, account repository, customer repository, as we know that. So data source, data source is required for making the connection with the database. So that is about some database information. I think all are aware about that. So same process, find account by ID, find customer ID, find after finding account and customer, we need to be update the account after debited, then notify the customer. So for these four operation, we need to select to update. Now, so whenever we going to the find account by ID, so that is we need a one database connection. Account repository call to the data source to make database connection, right? After getting the database connection, the connection is held by the find account by ID method. As database connection acquired, then it fire the query, get the data, and close the connection. Similar, same function, same operation also done by the find account by find customer ID. Get connection is fetched, then close the connection, same thing. So it means whenever we perform this four operation, every operation get connection, after getting connection, it perform the operation and close the connection. So all this is a repeatable way for this way. So now after doing these things, we how much connection we have get, like connection 1, connection 2, connection 3, connection 4 for one unit of task, if we are running this operation non-transactionally, right? So I think this is not a good approach. So why is not good approach? If this example is like, if this operation has partial failure, then what happens? Suppose same system, same operation. So what happens, like at the notification time, there are some problems occurs. So find select is fine. we are fetching the data. Select is there no, if we are running select non-transactionally, so that is not problem. But problem is like when we are going to manipulate data like DML type of things, like we are firing update, delete, insert. The problem rise on that type of things. Like when we are going to update, suppose update account is just like updated the account. It's according to the this method, we are just debited the amount and deduct that amount and update the account. But at the time of notification to the customer, there's some business violation or some business rules fails or any exception might become. So it's a error here. So what happens in this case when errors came? It's something failure. So like select one, select two, select and update. These are success operation, but fourth operation is failure. So this is not a unit of task actually, because we are not performing whole task, but we are performing one. We have deducted the amount from the account, but we are not notified to the customer because some error. So that is not a successful operation. So due to this failure, due to business rule failure, customer didn't notify. They're not like they, according to the customer, there no withdrawal happened, but actually amount is deducted from the account. So this is actually not a correct approach to handle this. So what would be the correct approach for to handle the partial failure? So actually, whenever we are talking about a partial failure, so partial failure should not be there, either fully failure or fully completed. That is actually a goal to achieve data integrity. So correct approach is connection. Correct approach is connection per unit of work. We are not getting the connection per unit of query. Whatever number of query we are firing to the database, or whatever command to our we are going to firing for database in a one unit of work, everything must be in a connection, a single connection. So they provide some benefits, like if we are using same connection, that's more efficient. We are reused our same connection. We're not going to get the too much connection from the database. So that is one of the more efficient way. So that is actually good practice. Whenever we are moved to do a particular task, we need to perform this task in a single connection rather than getting the number of connection. So another operation complete is if you are using connection per unit of work, so it is atomic work, either all success or all failures. So that unit of work can run in a transaction. How? Let's see. Same example we are performing with the transactionally. So same example, like, so find account by ID, one select, find customer ID, one select, update account, it's update, notify, it's also update. So whenever we are running that these things transactionally, so it get the connection, very first point. And same connection will be used for all operations. Select one, select two, select update one, update two. So you can see the connection one are used along for all operations. So all DB operation will perform under the same connection. And this after performing all operation, the same connection will be closed. So that means this operation we have performed under a transaction. So that is the benefit of transaction when we are running any operation transactionally. When we are running any operation transactionally, that is we are going to reuse our resource. We're not wasting our resource. So transaction is somewhat very important whenever we are talking with the database. If we perform this operation transactionally, then any failure happens, so transaction under the same connection will roll back all DB operation for this unit of work, ensure the data integrity, because we are using single connection. So once any operation failed, so ACID, one of the property, ACID atomic consistency, isolation and durability. So these are very native property of any databases. So we don't need to be handle these type of things in a by coding. So this is handled by the database, underlying database. So when once any operation in a single connection failed, so DB is actually roll back all things, whatever we have done. So why we use transaction? So that's very simple to enforce ACID principle. So I think atomic consistency isolation and durability, I think you must aware about that. So I need no need to discuss here, right? Okay.
Dinesh, if you don't mind, can I ask you a quick question here?
Yeah.
In the scenario of banking, there are thousands of users, okay?
Mm.
And everybody's, I mean, the technology has been designed in a way that transactions will be completely comply with any request or any service request. So, for example, um, in terms of connectivity of database,
Mm.
how many connections has to be available for say, for example, 100 users?
Mm.
Do we have to have a multiple connection instance, or just have to have only one connection instance, so that all those transactions, even if it's coming from 50 customers or 100 customers, will be entertained?
So
How do you?
actually, what happens? Connection is not per request. Connection is like we are suppose we have account repository. It's a singleton class. So
Mhm.
account repository singleton class, once it's initiated, it's make a link with the database. That is single connection of account repository. So how many number of requests handled with this account repository is only by one connection. And
Okay.
s-
Okay. So my
and
question is a little bit concerned with the through about the connection pooling
yeah,
concept.
connection pooling actually one for the live environment. What happens? We need number of connection, because in the live environment we can't handle this lot of request with a single connection. We need a connection pooling concept on the production. For the connection pooling is actually it's hold the connection at the time of deployment. Once we application started, this create the connection for your purpose.
Mhm.
So once you send a request, so DB just your code just ask for connections, connection pooling just hand over your connection. It's not creating at that
Okay.
time of creation. So connection pooling is the
Okay.
connection creating at the time of
So
deployment.
so the service class will be served by connection pool, either one of is whichever is free, correct?
Right.
That you decide in application.property file, or whatever database property your file you're using
Yeah.
for the connections. And do we have any dedicated dependency for this connection pooling, and any library who does help this kind of
Actually,
service?
we can use a third-party library like C3, P0, and DVCP, and some of the Apache connection pooling.
Mm-hmm.
Tomcat also provide the JDBC connection pooling, so we can use any and
Mm-hmm.
server level.
Okay.
We can have a lot of connection pooling concepts, so we can use it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. So type of transaction, it's a local transaction and global or distributed transaction. So local transaction is actually whatever we have discussed is something like local transaction. We stick with the particular asset property. And local transaction something like these are resource specific, like what underlying database we are using, what underlying technology we are using. It's depend on that. So if your application using suppose MySQL, so your transaction management API might be very specific to the MySQL. Once you are configuring the Oracle in this case, so you need to be change that transaction management API. It might be 2 or 3 line of code you need to be changed here. So it's a very actually dependent what technology, what ORM framework we are using. It's totally depend upon that. So local transaction. So when we're talking about the global transaction or distributed transaction, so distributed transaction, its name suggests, it's not depend upon the any transactional resource, and it is actually global transaction which are managed by the separate dedicated transaction manager. Enable you to work with the multiple transactional resource. We can use multiple database type here. Your application and your application doesn't have any code that is related to any specific type of technology. It actually communicate to the transaction manager. Then transaction manager actually have the configuration, have the proxy of each type of technologies. Like we can say JTA, one of the distributed transaction API. So we need to discuss more about that. So first, handling transaction in a monolithic application. So monolithic application, as name suggests, we have discussed multiple times in our previous events. So monolithic application is a single artifact that include interface of all layers. That is actually number of modules like account service, customer service, inventory service, notification service, any type of modules we just collectively in a single package and deployed as single war file. That is actually monolithic application. So in the monolithic application, it's a very simple to handle the transaction. It's actually primarily depends on the asset properties, so you don't need to be make a lot of code for handling a lot of transaction or rollback type of things. It's a very simple way. If you are using Spring framework, so Spring declarative transaction, one of the very exhaustive technology to handle the transaction. So you can just add the rate transaction at the service layer. So you just define your propagation or isolation type of things. You just define some properties. You just achieve the asset properties by two line of code if you are using Spring. So in a monolith, it's very simple to use. Transaction. So mostly monolith application, what happens, mostly monolith application using common database service. They are not using distributed database. That's a very less chance कि a particular monolithic application using MySQL, Oracle or DB2. So I didn't get any time in my career. So monolith mostly stick with the database server. So actually asset nothing. It's a native property of databases. So transaction can be initiated database level. So you don't need to be initiate. You just at the rate transactional API. You call at the rate transaction annotation at the service layer, and that once your application called, it's initiated through the database level. So transaction committed or rollback based on the final outcome of transactions. So whatever your, if any failure happens in your application, so according to that taking the decision, either it should be committed or rollback. So once we are, if you are worked with the Spring transactional API, so in the Spring transactional API, you can also define the your exception for rollback. Which type of exception raised, then you need to roll back your transaction. Which type of transaction, which type of exception you can ignore to not roll back that. So you can also define the type of exception to roll back. So it's a depend. So same example, if we this perform in a monolithic applications, how we can handle. So it's a very simple, as we have discussed earlier in previous slides. So simple banking service, account repository, customer repository, these are part of single application. They are not in a independently deployable. All three modules, all three services, all three layers are in a single application and connecting with the single database. So these application actually is part of single application. So just you can request for withdraw. So it perform the all query whatever we have discussed, like find account by ID, find customer ID, then update account, then notify the customer. So it all handled by the one transaction, one connection only. So that's connect to the database and account updated, and then after getting the single connection, in the single connection is customer updated or notified and bid on. So it's a very simple if you're working with the monolithic application to handle the transaction. So it's a what we have see in the previous slides, like sends a request to the monolithic, then monolithic system create a local transaction to database, and same transaction is used to process all things like update customer, update account, and if any step fails, it roll back. If it's success, then it's commit. So actually it is guaranteed by the database, underlying database. So asset property, one of the property that is actually very native property with the database. So the transaction whatever we have initiated, actually it is guaranteed by underlying database. Now we are moving to the discuss microservice and database patterns. So these are very interesting topic. So microservice, as we know that transaction, whatever we have done with the monolithic, with their all services we call collectively create a single artifact deployed in a single server or multiple servers. So but all layers, all interface, all classes in a single war file. But it's unlike from the monolithic microservice architects, is purely loosely coupled. So it's actually microservice architecture that structure an application as a set of services. These services are loosely coupled and independently deployable. So microservice actually enable the continuous delivery and rapid deployment. That is actually benefits of microservice. So the mean to say we are using a system that is distributed, but collectively working for a particular task. So how we can, uh, so as if when we discuss with the microservice, so microservice, so actually individual team is responsible to handle one or more microservice and its separate databases with its separate databases. How? So suppose account team is like developer or something like DevOps team, or there might be QA member. So these are collectively is account team. So account team actually responsible to handle account service. This is actually microservice. And that account service actually connecting with single database, that is account DB. Similarly, customer team is responsible to customer service, then with the customer's database. Notification team, if we have notification team, one of the service that need to be handled, that is separate notification team and separate notification service, separate notification DB. That DB might be MySQL or any NoSQL database. So that doesn't means we are using relational database here, not for notification. So any type of database, but database is private. So there might be more team, might be more services, might be more DB. So mean to say ki in a microservice architecture, we have distributed applications and distributed database, right? So database pattern in an application. So what happens?
Dinesh, sorry, I had one query here.
Yeah.
In the previous slide, yeah, you have mentioned like account team will take care of account service, which will rely on account DB. Likewise, customer team will work with customer service, which consists of customer DB, right? Say like account, my assumption is account DB consists of full account details, customer detail consists of full customer details.
Right.
Okay. In this case, if a customer has two accounts, how are we going to maintain that link?
So through the REST API.
I mean
discuss.
like
yeah, I will comes to your question
okay.
in next slide.
Okay.
So database pattern in a microservice, database pattern in a microservice application. So here we are going to discuss how we can use database with the microservice architecture. It's totally depend upon our application also. This is not, as I told you, microservice is not a very straightforward solution to use your application, to create your application. Microservice is recommended software architecture you can use as per your requirement. Similarly, database pattern is also depend upon your application. So that is not very hard and fast rules. We can use this database, then we can get lot of benefits. So, but the things are like how we can use database patterns here, shared database pattern and distributed database per service pattern. So shared database pattern, as name suggests, we have shared database, single database that is actually shared to the multiple services. Each services can access this database by other microservice using the local ACID transaction. I think your question is like that. Suppose we have single database server right now, and a customer service and account service and another services. We all services using the single database right now. So if customer service need some data of account, because it's holding two accounts, so how we can get that data in the customer service? So because we are using single database, we can directly connect to that database table and we just perform ACID operations. We don't need to go lot of patterns to perform. We just use ACID operation as we have used in a monolith, and we can fetch the request. So yani ki, we are coupled with the shared database. If any, suppose account team holding same database whatever holding by the customer. So any account member of account team change the schema of account table, then it also it's also impact to the customer service also. So you need to be collaborate with the customer team as well. I'm going to the change my account team account DB schema. So you take approval from the customer service as well. So that is means we have created the service, we have created the microservice. Still we are depend on um, the one point of contact. We need to be coordinate with each other. So this is not coupled system. This is not, sorry, this is not loosely coupled system. This is like we have coupled with a some point. So as the question, the scenario is like, suppose we have services like, so we have these services like have shared database. That database contain the account table, customer table, notification, and all other tables might be there according to the application. So these all services connecting to this single database. So if we are connecting the single database, if we are fetching, if we perform same operation whatever we discussed, like withdraw amount, so select star from account, yani ki we are fetching the account information from the according to the account ID. Similar in same transaction, we are going to fetch customer information according to the customer ID from the customer table. After getting these information, we just update the account and insert into notification. There's something transaction we have happened. So we are using microservices, but this transaction perform as a asset operations because we are using single database. So account table in a shared database, similar customer table also in a shared database, or notification table also in a shared database, in a single database. So we don't need to be create distributed transaction here. It's like local transaction is shared, will perform for your shared database.
Dinesh, Mukesh here. I have one question.
Yes.
So in the slides which you are showing right now, so we have multiple select systems which is starting in a single transaction. But how come it would be possible, since we are multiple services, like we have account service, we have customer service, we have notification service. So all the code logic will go to their respective services, right? It's not like if you are, for example, if you are starting any transaction in account service, so that transaction should commit in that service itself. It's not like that transaction will be shared with customer service or notification service, right?
Okay,
So
actually, come to your point. Actually, what happens? Suppose this API we are going to write in a customer service or account service, right? In a particular service, we are going to write this service. So in a shared database, we can perform all operation. We can perform all database. We can fetch all data from, like, either we are using account, customer, because these tables all are part of single database. We can connect with the database, right? Single database. So this in this operation, we are not using microservice type of things. We are performing same operations, we are not involving any account service to perform this operation. We are directly get the data from account table by in your code. You writing the code in your customer service, but getting the data from account.
Yeah, maybe we should not directly call that account related data either.
Yeah, I got your question. Actually, whatever you said,
on customer service, it is a request to account service, right? We should.
Hello.
Your voice is breaking, sorry.
Yeah. Yes, ask.
Okay, maybe we can check this offline in case if you don't have any time much.
No, I got your question. Your question is that suppose we are performing this operation, suppose account, whatever we are getting account information from the account service, and whatever information we are getting is from the customer service, right? But here I am discussing this operation whole in a single service. Not we are using multiple service to get. Suppose actual case should be like, if we want to fetch account information from the customer service, you need to be called customer app service rather than call customer database, right? So
yeah, that's what.
Yeah. So what is the developer mentality in this case? If I'm a developer, whatever experience I have. So if you are providing me shared database, so I'm never call the customer API. I'm just calling the customer database table because I have right to access database because we are using single database. That is actually hell to model, hell to microservice architecture. Actually, this is the anti-pattern. Actually, this is not pattern should be used in your microservice architecture because
Right.
developer will call directly to the database rather than asking to the microservice.
Mhm.
Right.
Right. Yeah, it's right. Actually, that should not be followed. But in even in that case, also, if we are sharing a database, whenever we write, this is my understanding. I'm not sure whether it's right or wrong. So, if we are writing on microservices, each microservices should dedicate to a separate databases. Even if you are using a shared database, for example, if you're using account service should have dedicated account database. We can segregate based on schemas as well, or even if you are using a same schema from account service, you should not directly call customer related tables either.
Yeah,
In case if
these
it's
are in the next slide. You can see all things are available in these slides. Next further slides.
okay.
So let's go. So what is the benefit? What is the drawback? So benefit, like it's a very straightforward to handle the asset transaction because we are directly called the database rather than we are going to the application to the different services, or so just need to perform an asset operation for data consistency. But what is the drawback actually here? Runtime coupling. Actually, we are using single database, so we didn't isolate our services to each other. Actually, we are dependent from the database. So any change in the database, any things, any technology we are going to change in the database, it's like dependency um, with the microservices at the runtime. And same for development time coupling. If any developer change in the database schema, must be aware about these changes. Suppose the customer team will change some schema about customer table or something else. So customer account team will must aware about the what change done by the customer team. And the diversity of services, actually we can't change our technology because of we are using same database. It might be region key, like database, some specific things we are not, some API or some jar file or something not supported by specific technology. So diversity of services, it's actually impacted. So if it is it anti-pattern? Yeah, it is very much anti-pattern as we have discussed because of shared database to create the coupling between the services. So if it is the anti-pattern, then which pattern should be used? So it is provide runtime coupling, development time coupling as we have discussed, and any type of coupling. Any type of coupling is hell for microservice. Actually, we are not going to create a microservice. We are going to create a distributed monolithic application. We are same table we are calling from the customer service, same table we are calling from account service, same table we are calling notification service. So accordingly to collectively, we can say we are creating the distributed monolithic application, but name suggested as a microservices. So these are not microservices actually. So microservices never connect any DB that is associated with a particular microservice. We need to be called through the REST API. So after long, actually as name suggests, after a long time, suppose if you are using shared database, you are the good developer. So you have created separate tables and separate microservice for separate table. But you don't know, someone come and directly call the table of customer service in the account, sorry, customer table in the account service. So it might be changed in a future to the distributed monolithic application. Same code in microservice, same code in a service, microservice 1, same code in a microservice 2, same code is available also in microservice 3. So, but we have proud to be, we have microservice architecture in our company, but actually it is not a microservice architecture. So shared database is not a good option to use. Now database per service pattern. So database per service pattern, as name suggests, it's like a single database is only accessible by a single microservices. A microservice can access the data of other microservice by only API rather than directly calling to the database. Suppose in this case, you can see microservice want to use the database of DB data to microservice. So how we can use? We are not going to calling direct DB of microservice 2. Instead of that, we need to be called such like we just microservice one call microservice want data of DB of microservice 2, then we have to communicate to the microservice 2 rather than directly calling the DB of microservice 2. So same pattern as we.
Dinesh, does that follow distributed transaction in case of database per service pattern? If you are following, does we can do distributed transaction? For example, if I am starting one transaction from account service, so that transaction can go to customer service as well, or it will be two different transactions, one in account service and the other is in customer service.
Actually, whatever you are asking, that's all answer available in the next further slide. So I will come your question. I will come to your question. If you're not getting answer in your next slide, you can ask after that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. That's fine.
Let me check. I have pressed the end. Mm. Microservice database. Mm. Okay, database per service, right? Okay. Yeah. So here you can see account service must be connected in on DB. Customer service must be connect on DB. Similarly for notification, similarly for other services. So here you can see no one connect to the DB. No service can connect to the DB of another service. So we need to be connect only through the REST API rather than connecting to the direct DB. So this is database per service pattern. So private data means actually how we can private data. That doesn't means we are creating the multiple database server. Private data means private data for particular microservice. So private data might be like we have single DB, but some particular tables associated to the account, some particular table associated with the customer. So this is also case of private database. Private database doesn't means you have to use different database server. So we have multiple choice like private tables per service. Either we can have, if you have lot of money, schema per service. If you have more money to invest, then database server per service. It's depend upon your pocket, right? So private table per service means each microservice own a set of tables that must be only accessed by that particular microservices. So no other service will call these services, whatever set of service we are associated with a particular service. That is actually private table per service. And schema per service, that means we have single database servers, but we have create separate schema. Like we have two database, like database 1, database 2. In database 1 we have lot of tables, in database 2 we have lot of table. So according to our application, our application domain, suppose we have account microservice. So account microservice in a single database server we have created account database. In single database server we have created customer database. So we have to create the schema per service. So each microservice has database schema that private to the microservice, and database server per service means we just creating the multiple server, multiple server, multiple IP of the server according to the service. So each microservice has its own database servers. So it's actually, if you are, it's recommended upon your application. Actually, if your application have lot of data, your application like very much dependent to the database, and you need very scalable database system. So it suggested database server per service is much recommended for on such type of application. So benefit, you as you say, loose coupling, because data is encapsulated right now. Because why data is encapsulated? Because we have had the account database from the customer, we had the customer data from the account. So it's provide the loose coupling. We have encapsulated the data according to the service. if you made any change in schema, we don't need to be coordinated with the other team. If your account team want to just destroy all DB, so who care from the customer team? Account team is responsible for that particular task. Or no one can blame to the customer service customer team just firing a query or my database gone down, so no one can say. So the drawback as whatever drawback, that is actually purpose of this event. Actually this is no, they are not straightforward transaction implementation for as we have done earlier, like with the assets with the single database. And also if you are using several technology like SQL, NoSQL, how we can manage these things whenever we are working in such type of services. So is it anti-pattern? Yeah, it is not anti-pattern because we are not coupling the database actually right now. So it's very smiley. So there is no coupling, like day-to database, we are using separate database. So no coupling between the services right now. Then these are main problems. How to handle data consistency across the services, right? Service, suppose we are performing an operation like like withdraw. So withdraw account info, fetching account from different service, fetching customer from different service and different database. So how we can handle the transaction overall server, overall multiple database, overall services, how to ensure data consistency, and how to write query to join. Because if you have, suppose if you want to make the join from account table to the customer table, you want like select star from the customer where account have two number, two account hold by customer. So we can just make some left join, right join, inner join. So we, you want to do that, you can just make join a single data. But how to write the query when you are working with the multiple services and you want data collectively from multiple tables, how to write such query and making the joins between these query. So we will discuss. So how to maintain the data consistency, actually what need of data consistency across. Actually some business transaction always span multiple services, so you need mechanism to ensure data consistency across the services. So span the multiple services means the any functionality that is come across the number of services and perform the operations, like same whatever example like withdraw money from a account. So we need to be update account. As I say, queuing is not a problem. If you want to make a select, is not a problem. Select never violate the data consistency. Select something like we are fetching the information. If any problem comes, we are not, we don't have a database, but data integrity is there. But problem is only DML. Once we are want to update database. So in our operation, in our case, we want update the account and then also update the customer for perform the this withdraw. So if we make customer table, customer service is actually successfully attempt operation, but account service is not able to attempt that particular service. In what, how to maintain the data consistency across the service for a particular business transaction? Because business doesn't care about what architecture we have used. Business only want if either successfully, either fully failure. So in database per service pattern, there is no straightforward way to implement queries and that join the database. So handling in transaction in microservice. So microservice application is difficult in multiple service and individual deployable, whatever we have discussed using private database. So any business operation can perform span multiple services. So S is not an option because we are not using local transaction here. We are not using a single database. So ACID we can't use. ACID is only applicable when we are using single database or local transaction. Then ACID is good. But once we are distributed the system, distributed the database, so ACID is not good option. Not a good option is not a option actually. We can't use ACID. If we are make the service as the rate transactional, that is only for a particular microservice. That is not only for the suppose if you can say, yeah, I have created at the rate transaction notation in the microservice, so it will handle. You forget. I'm very good developer. I've handled database transaction by using at the rate transaction. So you must aware about that. At the rate transaction is only handle the transaction within the microservice, not across the microservice. So once you call the across microservice, your transaction go away. So we can't use ACID for the span services. So microservice transaction actually in consider, it is actually like a considered distributed transaction. What distributed transaction? Something like we have perform an operation. So account microservice create one transaction, customer microservice create one another transaction, notification create different transaction. So there are 3 transactions created for a particular group of task, particular unit of task. So now any failure in any service, that particular task, particular transaction actually able to perform the asset operation, not perform the across the microservices. So this is actually case of distributed transaction. So now the challenge is that how we can handle these distributed transaction, connection 1, connection 2, connection 3, transaction 1, transaction 2, transaction 3 for a unit of work. That is actually major problem with the microservice architecture. So same operation, if withdraw perform inside a microservice based system, so how we can handle this transaction? So same system, we are breaking in the services, account service, customer service, private database like account tables, account database, and customer database. Each microservice has separate database right now. So banking system, like you generate a query for withdraw. So operation required for account like update or select something like. So we are focusing on the DML right now, updating. So if you want to withdraw amount, so you need to be update the account after withdraw, after debited the amount, and you need to be update in DB in a single transaction, right? So now customer same customer service, it once we withdraw and we call the account service, so account service locally generated transaction, it is locally generated transaction if we perform the transactional. So transaction one is created here. Similar, once banking system called the customer service to update the customer table, so it is create the second transaction, that's a transaction 2. But operation is single, withdraw, amount withdrawn. This is the very successful case. If any transaction is failed, transaction 1 or transaction 2, who's care to roll back transaction 1? If transaction 2 is failed, who can force to roll back of transaction 1? If transaction 1 is failed, who can force to the rollback of transaction 2? Both are independent applications, both are independent database, both are everything is independent. But the unit of task is that we want withdraw. So same theory, whatever we have discussed. So asset is not an option here. The like baseline of this discussion, the asset is not an option for using this for our application. So this is the way. Suppose begin transaction, account service, customer service, same thing, whatever we have discussed with the monolith or shared database system. Same things we have there. But right now scenario has been changed. What change? Account service, account table, private database of for account service. Account table is lying in the private database of account service. Customer, private database of customer service. Similarly, private database of notification service. So we can't use ACID here. These, if we want to create the such type of things, they will not guaranteed to data integrity because of different database services. So this is actually case of distributed transactions. Challenge, there is no direct or simple way to handle ACID principle across the multiple databases. These are challenge actually, how we can handle this challenge. Solution, how to maintain the data consistency. This is actually solution for this particular query, how to maintain data consistency. If you can see the previous slide, for this particular operation, how to handle the data consistency. So there are two-phase commit. I think someone must be aware about two-phase commit. It's a very old in Saga pattern. And another same question, how to handle queries that is join to multiple database, how can? So API composition and CQRS, these are options we can actually make solution for these type of queries. So I think we should take a break, right? Or we can continue.
Well, it's all up to you, Dinesi.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Hello?
I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
It's up to you. Well, if you want to give a 5-10 minute break, or you want to continue.
Yeah, we have discussed with 1 hour. So if you want, let's take a 5 minute or 10 minute break, and
Yeah.
we will connect with after 10 minutes, right? Then
Sure,
we
sure.
select, right?
Yeah, that would be fine.
Okay. So pattern to handle data consistency across the microservices. So these are solutions so we can handle the data consistency across the microservices like two-phase commit and Saga patterns. So two-phase commit, one of the patterns, that is two-phase commit patterns. Let's as name suggests, two-phase commit actually it's handling the data consistency by using two-phase, and it's making like what local transactions going on and what coordinator, one of the coordinator actually working like a proxy over that local transaction. So these are two phase, one of the prepare phase, another the commit and rollback phase. So first, prepare phase. What is the prepare phase in the two phase commit? So prepare phase, like in this phase, all microservice of transaction prepare the some data. Like if you want to commit, if you want to update, if you want to delete, if you want to do anything with the data, you just prepare your data for commit and notify to the coordinator. So what is the transaction coordinator here? So it's something like another application. It might be some message broker, it might be some Kafka consumer or producer, something Kafka event. So it's something, another application that's working as a transaction coordinator. And it is like a proxy application to monitor the transaction across the microservices. Which transaction? These are local transactions monitored by this coordinator. And in the next phase, commit a rollback phase. Once service any service actually raise, hey coordinator, I have done what I do, why what I supposed to do, then coordinator take the action on it. Like coordinator issue a either commit or rollback to all microservice, depend upon the what things going on behind, like successful, each successful or one of the failure. Let's see same example. Now same example we will consider as a two-phase commit, and we will see if everything is successful, then what happens. So same application, banking system, and account microservice and customer microservice. So here you can see the transaction coordinator, one of the application we have introduced here. So banking system actually raised the request for withdrawal. This is actually request to withdraw amount and update to the customer. It's raised to the customer. It's a transaction coordinator, sorry. So now transaction coordinator, what happens? Transaction coordinator actually initiate a transaction here. Once receive a call for a particular unit of work. After initiating a transaction, transaction coordinator will actually call the microservice to perform particular task, like update finding account and make some withdraw and to update. If microservice as getting this call, it create its own local transaction and perform the operation. After successful performance, it's create a prepare message to the transaction coordinator. Yeah, I have done. Right? But in this case, the account service, whatever operation performed in a particular row, it's create a lock on that particular row. Suppose if you update or insert on a particular row, it create the lock on that. So now transaction coordinator again raise a request to the customer service to update about what supposed to do by the customer. It's like finding to the notify for withdraw or something approval required. So customer service create its own transaction, local transaction, and perform the operation and reply to the coordinator, hey, I have done and prepared. So after getting these two prepared, transaction coordinator again calling to the account service. Whatever changes made by the first change done by the account service need to be commit right now. So coordinator to again call to the customer service microservice, sorry, account microservice to commit these transactions whatever done earlier. So it's committed right now. Same for customer service. It's committed. All operation performed successfully. Then transaction coordinator close the transaction and reply to the banking system. Yeah, withdraw the money. This is a successful case. So in this case, account service hold the particular row, customer service hold the particular row. After again getting that message or trigger any events from the coordinator, then it's release the lock. So now same for the two-phase commit. Now let's see same example once any partial failures happens. So how transaction coordinator will perform these things. So same example you can see banking system just for withdraw amount and transaction coordinator actually accounts call to the account service to update the account and fetching the amount information. So just begin the transaction, then call the account microservice to get the account information and withdraw the amount. And obviously it's initiate a transaction. If everything is done successfully, it's just raise a event done to the coordinator. Now same coordinator again call to the customer service, and customer service is responsible to update or notify about that particular withdraw. If customer service actually something business is violation, suppose if you want to withdraw the amount, customer is not eligible for that, or customer something have business violation rules, customer service can done some business violation. So it means account service whatever done change in the DB, it need to be rolled back right now. So that means something failure happens in the customer service. So it's like right now it's actually raise the event to the coordinator to the field, and now coordinator again call to the customer so again sorry account service to roll back whatever did earlier about the transaction actually. So whatever things has been changed, it's roll back, and again again call to the coordinator, yeah, I have roll back all things. Then it's end of transaction. It's again never call to the customer service because customer service failed. Earlier you can see the transaction coordinator call the customer service again to commit the transaction, but here there no transaction happens with the customer service because customer service transaction failed due to some business rules. So after this notification, coordinator raise events to about the transaction whatever done by the account service and end the transaction and raise the failure message to the customers, like banking service. This is the failure case. This is the way to handle the data consistency using the transaction coordinator with two-phase commit. So two-phase commit actually guaranteed the data consistency. If you are using two-phase commit, it's guaranteed. There's no problem with it. It's very similar like ACID operations, but it has some drawback. So failure case, as we have discussed, any point of failure, transaction coordinator will abort transaction and begin the rollback process. So some benefits, two-phase is very strong consistency strategy because it's purely perform the ACID transaction, whatever done by the local database transaction. But it is also atomic, and 2PC also allow the read-write isolation, because once any service, as I told you, once coordinator ask for the change, it take the lock on particular row, a particular like if you find the where query, like from limit some from this, so in particular rows will be locked, right? So these are using isolation strategy. But what is the drawback actually with the two-phase commit? It is single point of failure, because coordinator fails, everything's fail. 2PC synchron 2PC actually something synchronous, because it's a blocking, because once any service is notified to the transaction coordinator, then again next service will be called. It's something like sequential process to call the microservices. So it's look like a synchronous behavior and blocking, and network latency, because of again go to the coordinator, and coordinator uh, event generate an event to do something, then after microservice perform this event, perform on the task, and also notify to the coordinator, something like latency in the network is increased, and something that's region it's perform the slow operation. If we perform same things with the single application, like if perform same application same things with the monolithic, it's much faster than if you are using two-phase commit. Even it's taking the lock over the database also to reduce the throughput. If you are taking the lock on over the database, so it might be create the problem and reduce the throughput. So it's not actually very successful pattern to use in the microservices, but you can use to achieve the strong data consistency. So database service is database per service pattern is a recommended pattern to use microservice, but 2PC is not recommended pattern. So you can see here, if database per service is recommended, then how to maintain data consistency across, but 2PC is not recommended. You can use 2PC to handle the data consistency if you are using data per service microservice pattern. But question is that if 2PC is not recommended, then what else? So database per service, why we have to use loose coupling? Due to loose coupling, data consistency, spam microservices, it is required, and 2PC is not, due to several drawback. So what else? Else is Saga. So actually Saga, one of that another pattern that is actually originated very far ago, like near about 1987. Some suggested by some white paper, some of the person I don't know. So actually that's very old patterns, and these are very actually very fit for our microservice architecture. That's why it's very popular right now to handle the data consistency across the microservices. So what is Saga pattern actually? Saga actually nothing. It's a simple sequential way to handle local transaction. It is a Saga, a sequence of local transactions. A single local transaction known as a Saga. We will see much more about this in further slides. So local transaction, you know, it's very much stick with the asset. So if any local transaction stick with the asset, so it means local transaction is ensured the data integrity or data consistency for particular microservice. But you know, you just need to handle across the microservice the same type of consistency, whatever we have handle through the asset inside a particular microservice. So each local transaction like update database. So each local transaction either update or insert any manipulation inside the database, make that and also publish that particular event or message. If you are using Saga, so any local transaction, first of all, need to be performed. What operation supposed to do? They like withdraw or account update or customer update. After updating these things, it generate or publish a event or message to trigger next local transaction of other microservice. Suppose we have customer service, sorry, account service or customer service. One Saga just update the account through the account microservice, and after updating the account database, it trigger a event for next participant. Who's the next participant? Is the customer microservice. So it invoke the next participant by generating the event, and then next participant will be called, and same things done by the next participant. Next participant perform the operation and trigger the next participant. It's like sequential of local transactions. So, but if everything is going to successful, then it is very okay ki just trigger next done by next then successful operation done by the microservice one, trigger to next microservice successful done by the microservice 2, then trigger to the microservice 3. What happens when any microservice fails? How to roll back all microservice? Every microservice committed. Here in the Saga, there are no such type of case. We are not holding any lock to the row as we have done with the two-phase commit. If we perform any operation through the local transaction, it need to be committed first. Then it trigger to the next microservice. So any microservice fails, how to roll back that committed transaction, whatever we have done earlier with the previous steps. So that is very challenging. So in the Saga, if we are running in the successful case, that is very straightforward by using local transaction. The problem with the Saga is very much is like whenever we designing the compensating transaction, means any transaction failures, then how to roll back to the previous microservices who's already committed in the database. So if a local transaction fails because it's business rule, then Saga execute a series of compensating transactions that undo the changes that were made by the preceding local transactions. So here very challenging, like some of the transaction compensating transaction, nothing, it's something code. So there's something code like whatever change made by the, it's something code for undo the changes made by the previous step, since those service already committed. This is actually compensating. So if we compare two-phase commit with the Saga, so two-phase commit, whatever green area you can say in two-phase commit, it's like a transaction proxy. Yeah, we can say transaction coordinator. So in the projects, in the transaction coordinator, it's actually responsible to handle all services. It actually grab all services inside two-phase commit, like microservice account service, microservice notification, and microservice customer service. So any operation performed between the these services. So two-phase commit actually create the proxy over the these all three services to make ensure that data consistency across the microservice. If you want to make it changes to the Saga, then we don't need to be create high level proxy over the these services. We don't need to be distributed transaction here. We just use local transaction, whatever inside the account service, inside the notification, inside the customer service. So account service has local transaction. Now, after performing any operation, account service generate a message or event to invoke next service. Then next service will also use on local transaction and make the changes and committed. After committed is also generate a event or message to call another service. Then further service also will use same transaction. What is local transaction? Sorry. So you can see here 3 microservices using own transaction: local transaction 1, local transaction 2, local transaction 3. Here there are no high level transaction around these services as we have used two-phase commit. That's called distributed transaction. Here we are only using local transaction, but two-phase commit using distributed transaction as well as local transaction. So let's see how to initiate the saga with our example. In successful case, same example, withdraw. We can see how we can use saga in our case, in successful case. So in the successful case, suppose we want to withdraw an amount from particular account. So as we called withdraw method in a code, it initiated the saga. Saga is always initiated whenever unit of work is started on same time. Saga will be initiated. Saga nothing. Saga is a local transaction. It's word not actually saga. If you can remember, saga is a combination of local transaction plus compensating transaction. Actually, that's it. Each microservice have one local transaction, one compensating transaction. We will see what is the role of compensating transaction. So saga is combination of like local transaction and compensating transaction. So once withdraw method is invoked, it's initiated the saga. That means local transaction and compensating transaction initiated both. So suppose we are calling account service withdraw, and in that particular service, its a local transaction will be initiated, right? Once we have called a withdraw method, so local transaction perform these operations like fetch account and then withdraw amount. So after withdraw, so it make the withdraw and make the status pending. It withdraw the amount, and in the DB it's holding a state like pending. The withdraw happens, but it is in pending state. Now it generate an event and message to the next service, that is customer service. Same operation will perform by the customer service initiate on local transaction, and local transaction just here we want some customer approval to for this particular withdrawal. If customer approval withdrawal successfully, it provides successfully customer validations, then it initiates the account service. Yeah, I have approved your amount, whatever you want to do, withdraw through the event or message. So it again call account service. But you can say again, whenever we call again my account service, it is not using same transaction whatever used as earlier local transaction. Local transaction whatever used earlier, it is only for withdraw of each account. But once it again call the account service, it will create new transaction for account microservice, and it just complete. It called the complete withdraw. Yeah, you just update the status of previous withdrawal amount, whatever in pending, you just make it completed. Withdrawal completed. It means we have using, there are 3 transactions here. 2 transactions for account service, 1 transaction for customer service. So this is actually successful case. Now, what happens in the partial failure case? So same things, withdraw just initiate the saga. account microservice and initiate the local transaction, then fetch account and create the account in the pending state, then generate the event for customer service, and customer service is create the local transaction and call customer approval and called customer approval. In any case, customer approval case, there are some mishappening like some business violation is rules involved in that case. So it actually failure case here. So it generate again a event to the account service and generate an event and give the what over outcome of the particular saga. It generate a outcome of customer service saga to the account service, and account service again created local transaction, and it called reverse method, reversal of withdraw. Whatever we have in the pending, you just reverse the amount, whatever we have fetching from the deducted from the previous step, and withdrawal reversed. This is the actually failure case. But whatever equal, it look like very simple to roll back all other things. It is but not so simple actually. The main problem with the saga is rolling back. How the whenever we have to design the rolling back concept, actually rolling back is not through the rolling back as in the asset property. In the asset property, whatever rolling back strategy is used by the database only. Developer not responsible to write the rolling back concept in the asset. But in case of Saga, developer is responsible to write the rolling back. So rolling back is rolling back with the compensating transaction. So here it's a required very careful design whenever we are writing the rolling back things. So it using compensating transactions. Rolling back, as I told you, it's an actually developer is actually writing the code for that to make it eventually consistency. So eventually consistent means whatever we have done in the lot of step 1, step 2, step 3, step lot of saga, but eventually we have to consistent, make it consistent. So consistency actually make sure by the compensating transactions. If any case of failure, if everything is successful, so it always, if everything is successful, so consistency automatically happen. But consistency always required at the time of failure only. So what is the compensating transaction? So in our case, reverse method, whatever reverse withdraw is a compensating method. Like it generates the compensating transaction in the red like red gray area, red area. So you like unlike asset transaction, Saga can't automatically undo whatever change done by previous. So you need to be write some code to compensate all other things. Each step of Saga must have corresponding compensating transaction. Let's see in the next slide. So it is as I told you, it's a developer is responsible to write this method to compensate it. Saga is using local transaction to asset. So whatever Saga perform in the locally, it's very consistent, but across Saga need to be handled. Right. So what is a compensating transaction? So once account service initiated, so it initiates the local transaction T1. So as I told you, Saga is not only responsible to generating the T1, that is local transaction of account service, is also responsible to generate a compensating transaction that is called C1. Similarly for customer service, similarly for other services. It means for each microservice we have the transaction. So T1 actually you don't need to write. It is at the rate transaction is enough things to handle T1 in a microservice. But at the rate transactional is not responsible to handle to the C1. This is the code you need to be write. So T1, T2, T3 or Tn, it is like a transaction that is locally handled by a particular service. So you don't care about these things. but you have to care about the compensating transaction that is in red block. That is responsible. So any flow like these are known as a compensating transactions. So any flow like account service call, customer service. So customer service called other services. So any failure happens in the, suppose in customer service failed, the T2 transaction failed. So once T2 is failed, so you know any transaction is successful. Every service called that, suppose T1 is successful, is always invoke the T2. It means if Ti is successful, it always invoke the Ti plus 1. But any transaction is unsuccessful, any failure, so it will always called I minus 1 compensating transactions. So it always called previous compensating transaction. That's the sequence. It not only C1, it's whatever step is there behind that is called C1 minus 1, Ci minus 1, Ci minus 2, Ci minus 3, Ci minus 3 till C0.
Oh, sorry, Dinesh. Just want to confirm my understanding. You mean to say like there may be like n number of C will be there. So we have to recursively come back till the initial stage, right?
Right.
So at any one point, say like there will be C4 is there. So when I'm doing redo for rollback action for C2, but rollback failed. In that case, how I can come back?
That is one of the challenge, very big challenge. Your question is a very interesting question. So that is the actually the very big challenge with the Saga is the compensating. So there are a lot of scenario might be there, like what happens if compensating transaction is failure. So how we can handle these scenarios? So I'm trying to explain here much what I have. So but if you go in deep of see compensating transaction designing, so there are a lot of things is there to talk. So I have some one more event for that only for compensating transaction and how to handle. I will create actually whatever application I have created, it's in between for this talk. So once its application completed, so we will see how compensating transaction will work and what happens when C1 is failed or C3 failed, then who's responsible to handle these type of things. So there are a lot of anomalies there. So there are a lot of actually, if you go with the in deep to the compensating transaction layer, there are a lot of talk is there. So I will explain as much I have. So in a most probably in a next event we will only discuss the compensating transaction about Saga.
Okay.
So actually there are a lot of complications. That's actually complex design. If you are handling, if you want to make data consistency across the microservices, so if you are using Saga, the Saga give the challenge only designing compensating transactions only. So come to band. So this is sequence actually. If any transaction T1, if T1 is like Ti actually successful, then Saga then it's decided that Saga step Ti plus 1, right? In case of failure, it always reverse Ci minus 1. This is actually sequential flow. It's a high level flow. One more things. So there are nothing actually, there are a lot of challenges of whatever you have asked. The one of the challenge, another challenge, what about those actions that is not compensable, like if you are sending the email or SMS, you have sent the mail, yeah, you have withdrawn the amount, you have done that action, but something is failed. How to get back that email or SMS? You just send the apology to the customer, yeah, sorry, I have sent wrong mail to you. You can just do that only. So there are a lot of things is there that is not compensable actions. So that is actually one of the area that need to be consider about how, which type of action we can perform on that cases. If you are sending mail to successful, but it's actually it was not successful, you need to be sent again, it was a failure. So there are a lot of things need to be discussed with the compensable transactions. So that's why I'm creating another event for only for compensable transaction and we will see in the code level. So, but Saga API actually we can design either synchronous or asynchronous. Till now we can see the sequential process like a synchronous way. One transaction completed, then trigger to the another transaction completed, then trigger to a third transaction. So this is like a sequential way. But you can also design Saga as asynchronous. So synchronous mostly design is based on the event. But synchronous in the synchronous like a send response when Saga is completed to the next event. It means we just invoke next service after completing the first service where Saga is completed. It publishes just event and subscriber, whatever subscriber of that publish event, it subscribe that, and once event completed and publish next event, and subscriber will call that. It's like sequential way. And send response immediately after creating the Saga. Some of that is way like just I'm creating Saga, just call the invoke the API and initiate the Saga, and in at the time of that we just invoke the another Saga. It is message based. We just have centralized message system. So we'll see in further in detail. So if we are in Saga patterns, so Saga pattern, as you know, that we can also make it as a synchronous and reactive to as two-phase commit synchronous, but mostly is a synchronous, but we can achieve as a asynchronous as well. But it's very difficult to achieve synchronous with two-phase commit, but mostly it use the two-phase commit as a synchronous. So it doesn't enforce distributed asset transaction. Instead of using asynchronous local transaction, it's related to the microservice to ensure the system should be eventually consistent at the some point. Actually, it's only using local transaction at the sum of point, like the end point. It ensure the data consistency actually. So we can use either event bus or message broker to communicate the microservice to each other through the transaction. So drawback, Saga never provide isolation value. So if you have created any row and committed and in pending state, anyone can delete your pending state row because we are not taking the lock on that pending state. So for Saga only provide atomic, consistent, and durability, never provide isolation. So one of the compensating transaction, one of the isolation. These are big challenge to handle in the Saga. So you need to be design isolation behavior, how we can make things isolated. So it's like something complex design required. So there are other challenges might be for related to the isolation actually. So compensating transaction and isolation, there are two drawback that is not handled by the Saga. So developer need to be create isolation behavior and compensating transaction. That is the actually drawback. Type of Saga, choreography based Saga and orchestration based Saga. And choreography based Saga, like whatever we have discussed till now, that's like look like a choreography based Saga. Means distributed decision making means each service have compensating transaction, each service have local transaction. So in the particular local transaction failure, it will call the next previous compensating transaction. Means each service has the decision making power. Each service, like whatever decision making is distributed across the microservices. So particular microservice is decided after failure, or if it's success, it must be called next, or if it's failure, then must be called previous. That means this decision made by the particular microservice only, as we have seen in previous slides. But orchestration, it's a centralized decision making. So here in the orchestration based Saga, we just create a centralized decision making system, and a particular microservices is not aware about what is going on like neighbor microservices. So these are independently work to each other, but they are only waiting for orchestrator, centralized decision making. In the choreography, so it's in the choreography, local transaction of each participant microservice publish a domain event and trigger the local transaction of other participant microservice. So this example, suppose account service have account event was, customer service has customer event was. In the, that is something drawback of each microservice should have the event was as well, and also subscribe separate customer service or different microservices event handler as well. So there's something like cyclic dependency through the eventing, like lot of event chatting between, like each service chatting to each other through the event. So you can see in this case, if you want to withdraw amount, you just post a request, and after posting required, account service actually generate a event. Which event? Account updated. Account updated, that means withdraw amount and update the account DB and generate that event. And customer service actually subscribe the account event was. Then it's, once it's subscribed, it get that event, whatever created by the account service, and customer service just call for approval. Once it's approval get it, customer service also generate new event, like either it's approved event or rejected event, depend on the logic behind it. This event is generated to the customer service event, customer event was. Then customer event was is subscribed by the account service. Then account service actually taking the decision for withdraw or failure according to the what event generated by the customer service, approved or rejected. So it's like two service, you can say, two event bus. It lot of microservices, if you are consider for any production application, so lot of microservices there, so lot of event was there, lot of chatting between them. So this is actually distributed decision making. So this is something drawback, something benefits. So you can say the same explains what flow. In the first flow, it's the account service receive the post request and withdraw the amount, update the account in the pending state, and it emit a account updated event, and that customer service event handler attempt to validate this withdraw. If this, it then emit another event to indicating the outcome to the account service. Then account service event handler actually either approval or reject request, it make the decision for withdraw. So some benefit like events, yeah, we can if suppose there are a lot of event actually happen, you just see customer updated, account updated, rejected event, or if you use a lot of microservice, a lot of event is there. So if any case you lose the event, so that means once you lose any event in a process, you can't debug your application. That is very difficult. But you can make it by using event sourcing. So event sourcing, that is when a database, it is a database to store the event. Actually, whenever you are generating the event, you store that event in the database in a sequential order, then call the event handler. So at the time of failure, you have the event whatever we have generated in a database, so you can track whatever going on inside the application. So if you are using event sourcing, then it will is something easy, but ultimately it's very difficult, very complex, right? So drawback, too much event handler creating cyclic dependency, too much code need to be write in the domain object related to the events and totally depend upon the events. So that is actually something drawback about this choreography based saga. Orchestration saga, you can see. So this saga pattern actually has a orchestrator service that tells to a participant microservice what to do. Actually, here what happens, here orchestrator something centralized object to make a centralized object to make the decision what participant microservice service to what to do. It invoke the actually microservices. So here microservice actually doesn't have any event handling type of things. It's only have code what supposed to do. Only orchestrator service is responsible to coordinating things. So it's like coordinating service are created by developer. It is It is something like persistent object that track the status of Saga and invoke the participants. It has only this particular orchestrator have the state of each participant, what microservice, which microservice, what are doing, what where which microservice failed, which microservice succeed. It's all states available in the orchestrator service. Along this, along if after getting this reply from the microservice, it take the decision, it's rollback or not. So we can design through the orchestration asynchronous styles. We just use the Kafka to make it to achieve this asynchronous behavior. So same example, just like a withdraw request, and it's called account orchestration service, not calling to the, it's not generating any event here. It's just creating the amount and call this orchestration service and give the status. Actually, it's like a reporting manager. What's supposed to do? Just report your manager, I have done this task today. I'm not able to do this task. So according to the, it's like a reporting manager only. So account service perform the own task and update to the our own reporting manager. Yeah, I have done. So according to that, it's called the another service. Yeah, particular person creating the code. Now you just commit the code in the Git. Now you can deploy that to just something like that. So developer make the code, commit to the Git, and that manager just push to the deployment team. Please deploy that code. Simple like that. Simple, same here. Post withdraw, it generates the updated, it's updated to the orchestration service. But orchestration service actually give the command to the other service through the message broker only. It never call directly. Just invoke the message broker. And customer service, as customer service get this message and perform the operation, what need to be performed, what's supposed to be performed for the particular unit of task. And also once a customer service done this task and update to the generate, it also generate an event to the message broker, and it orchestration service receive that message and it update to the customer service. Yeah, it is that approved or failed. So here you can see the decision making actually on the orchestration service only. So services only generate the event and fetch the event only or message. So it is getting the commands from the orchestration service and also giving the like what status we have done to the orchestration service. So orchestration service is like a principal managing object here. So we need to be design only one service that is responsible to handle all persistence behavior here. So same flow, whatever we have discussed. So benefits is easy to easy to understand due to centralized decision making. We have centralized decision making, so you don't need to be go lot of compensating transaction, lot of things. So here just one decision making power, but compensating transaction is still there. But compensating transaction is not like recursively called by one microservice to another microservice. Here, orchestration service will take decision for particular microservice to revert the things through the message broker. And also remove the event cyclic dependencies. So actually, the drawback, we can say there are a lot of benefit, a lot of drawback might be for each patterns. But here, one of the drawbacks, like it's something depends on the Saga architect's object. Actually, it's a centralized object that is actually pure responsible to handle all things. So there are a lot of things to handle, like we can suppose we can use messaging message broker as a transactional. So a lot of problem we can handle through the Kafka. Like Kafka, one of the things that's provide the persistent something like a retry methodology. So it's retry once it's up, any service up. So Kafka will provide a lot of benefit to the orchestration based Saga. And also how is it reliable in case of failure message? So you can see you make it the transactional. So once message generated, you can store that message in the DB. Once application up, you can Kafka will read that message from the DB and push to the service to guarantee the making the guaranteed the data consistency actually. So there are a lot of talk to discuss in the Saga actually about especially for compensating and isolation behavior. So for as of now we have for the Saga as of now we have done for Saga to handle how we can handle that data consistency across the microservices. So we have seen two-phase commit and Saga patterns. So but another challenge what like how to write the queries, how to file the queries to the database. So API composition, it's a very typical solution. We just write the multiple query for fire the query to the each service, because we need data for each service. Suppose we need data for three service, service A, service B, service C. So API composer just call these services and compose the data in memory. Like we can just use for loop and make a final object to be written to the front layer, right? So it's like very typical way. And API composer actually something problem like when data is in very large, how we can handle in memories might be insufficient memory problem might be there. So we can need a separate solution. So it's also depend upon the actually what strategy you are using. It's depend on you totally. And another like CQRS, actually CQRS providing the separation of concern between the querying and command. So CQRS just like two things. Like one side, we need to be like once we are creating the application for a microservice, so we have to design our database in such a way ki like one database only for writing, one data for only for reading, read and write only. So one application command side application handle the request such create, update and delete, which is responsible for changing the application object state. Command side. Query side application handle the query to fetch business data to be viewed at the front application. Here once we can read, we can access which database which only have read access. We just read that data through the query. But command side we just create the asynchronous behavior. We just introduce Kafka between them. We just create the object and hand over to the Kafka. Kafka will able to handle all things. So you don't need to be required waiting for response for the command side. That's why command side we need to be separate these two. So command side we just use separate things like Kafka, another event handler things to perform asynchronous behavior. So that is actually typical diagram to how we can just like suppose we query data, so we can directly query to the DB or any cache system. So we can just call synchronous call direct, we just call REST API through and read the data, but you can below you can see the command. So it is might be we can create the messaging or event based. We want to create some data from the UI component and push to the broker. Broker must automatically handle these things and update to the DB and update to the cache as well. After something replication behavior we have to need to be implement. So read write database also we need to be have replicate things. Whatever change made in the command DB, it need to be replicated on the view layer DB. So to be actually reflect to that view UI component, what new entry has been introduced. So CQRS actually improve the separation of concern by dividing the application into two separate parts. So that's it about this talk. Actually, whatever we have discussed, that is microservice-based architecture resolve many problems related to the monolithic microservice architecture, enable the agility, method development, frequent development, and reliable testable and application. Is it, as I told you, it is not a silver bullet application. It's totally depend upon you, how we can design. So it's along with the benefits, a lot of challenges as well. So database service is recommended for loosely coupled. You can use asset transaction within the microservice. You can use Saga transaction, Saga pattern for the across the microservice, and orchestration and based on our orchestration based or choreography based Saga is handle data consistency across the microservices. So next event we will discuss compensating transactions and code behind this event. actually the code is not actually working right now, so I'm not able to show you right now. So we will show you next event. So once it's working, and we will discuss much more about how to handle the compensating behaviors and isolation things about the Saga. So if you have any question, you can ask to each other, or you can ask to me as well. So it's a
simple
total
question from my end, Dinesh. First of all, it was a very good presentation and explanation, and especially you have taken 2 test cases here, 2 scenario. Just out of this whole context, I have a question. For example, I have a 2 database. I'm having same same business domain related information in one, like customer basic informations, and another one is customer business related informations. So 2 databases having separate information. So now I'm trying to segregate all in one service class. So in terms of transactions, AC transactions, say for example, I have a service class where I am calling those 2 database instance through connections or through the class. So in a service class, can I write a function which is implemented transactional annotations, and inside I can do multiple operation in a function with the multiple database? If there is some problem happen in one of the process, the whole thing will be rolled back regardless of number of database.
So in this case, I think you are using same application, but you are calling 2 data source, right? In a same application. That's your question, right?
Yeah.
So in this case, we can use JTA, distributed transaction. So JTA, just you can use simple @transactional API of Spring, and you can handle these things through the transactional manager, that is distributed transaction manager, JTA. Java transaction manager.
So I think you got my point. I'm calling 2 database instance, 2 database DTO in one function. And if something happened to one of the process, the whole thing will be rolled back.
Yeah, global transaction is responsible to that. Because
so
actually global transaction actually create the proxy over the local transaction.
Okay, so in that case, what annotation will be used there?
Transactional annotation will be work for you, and you need to be perform, platform transaction manager in PTM in a Spring class. So that is interface. It handle both things like local transaction and global transaction. So that is the beauty of Spring Transaction Management API. You just change the annotation, change the bean. That is, suppose you are using a Havnet transaction API or data source manager, but here you are using global transaction manager. You are 2 database in a same application. So you just change that local transaction manager to the distributed transaction manager. You just change the transaction manager, same annotation will work for you.
Okay, and so the distributed transaction manager, is it a set of API or some dependency?
It is something. It is actually Spring will provide API. There no need to be configure any third party. Spring have both type of things, global and local.
Okay.
I will share one resource of my site is available. So it is very it has typical example whatever you have asked. Same I have handled on there.
That's no problem. Thank you very much from my end.
Okay.
It was again a wonderful experience.
Okay. Thanks.
Getting something.
And any other question from other side?
Yeah, Dinesh, I had a question. It's not like question, like I just want to understand a few architectural side. Okay, so basically like in